Hello everyone and welcome to part 15 of our F1 22 My Team career mode here for the Italian Grand Prix at Monza this season. Last time out we were in Imola in Italy, this time we're in Monza. Last time out in round 4 of the season we had an incredible 4th place to get us a whole bunch of points and move us to 11th in the drivers' standings. As you can see here on 13 points, just a couple points off of Esteban Ocon in P10. Also helping out in the constructors, getting us ahead of AlphaTauri. We're on equal points with them, and it looks like they may be our main rivals for the season, with the cars ahead being double our points, and then the 3 bottom teams still all on 0 points. Heading into this round, though, we unfortunately drop a couple of positions in the pecking order. It's not much, though. As I've said many times, the performance chart is very close this season between all the teams, and then but even then, we are very close with AlphaTauri and Haas anyway, so really, the performance hasn't massively changed. The biggest changes heading into this one are Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren. They've all bought a whole bunch of upgrades, and even Haas actually have bought quite a few to get themselves just back ahead of us in the pecking order. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes here around the Temple of Speed. I'd imagine most of the upgrades brought in for this round are engine upgrades, especially engine power upgrades, because that is very vital around a track like this. As you would expect, a whole bunch of straight lines and some very fast corners. So yeah, as I said, it'll be very interesting to see how teams cope with this track. We have seen a couple of reliability issues for the Red Bull powertrains as well, so interesting to see if they are able to cope around this very high intensity track for the engines. And I guess our goal for this weekend is just to continue our really good form from Austria and score some more valuable points. Hopefully Albon can also get some points. So I guess as we head into the weekend, let's have a look at the grid rundown for the Italian Grand Prix.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, George Russell, and Norris. Hamilton, Ricciardo, Fernando Alonso, and Esteban Ocon. Gasly, Albon, Yuki Tsunoda, and Magnussen, Joe, Stroll, Sebastian Vettel, and Nicholas Latifi, Mick Schumacher, and Benjamin. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
So here we are lining up on the grid in P20 for the Italian Grand Prix. We have taken a completely new engine heading into this one, as our components are starting to get a bit worn as we approach the halfway point of the season, and I figured what better track to take an engine penalty than Monza, where we will have plenty of time to fly past cars with a completely fresh engine. So hopefully, even though we are down the back of the grid, we can get ourselves up into a points-paying position. We'll just have to wait and see, though, how the race pans out and how quickly we are able to work our way through, especially this slower traffic towards the start of the race while everyone's still close together. That's when you want to try and make the most of the clean power unit. But here we go, 5 red lights. We are away for the Italian Grand Prix. Very quick lights going out there, and it is a horrible start for ourselves, let's be honest. It's not really going to matter much, though, as we head into the first chicane here, because everyone's going to bank right up with just so many cars heading into such a tight space. So we're going to dive to the inside of Schumacher here in the Haas, and we just sort of boxed in behind Latifi and Vettel as they go side by side. Pretty much the entire field going side by side through the first chicane here. But we do get... Actually, I thought we were going to have a completely better run than the Haas out of turn 2. But unfortunately for us, Schumacher, that is, has kept it alongside us. So we're now going to head all the way down to turn 4, still side by side with the German, where we do eventually get it ahead. And are now in behind the other German of Sebastian Vettel, trying to get the better run out of turn 5. Not able to do it though, so we have to tuck back in behind through the Lesmos, and so half a lap in. Unfortunately, we've only gained 1 position for ourselves, but we should be able to continue climbing up the order as we head onto the back straight now. Not getting the best exit deploying some ERS to try and keep up with the Aston here. Vettel going to look to overtake Latifi here. Look first to the inside, now to the outside of the Ascari chicane. Vettel sweeps around the outside and gets the move done there on Nicholas Latifi in his return to F1 this season. Obviously, we replaced him in Season 1, and he has made his way in to replace the outgoing Valtteri Bottas as we now go to his outside into the final corner, and also getting a bit of slipstream off Vettel as well to help us out as we go around the outside there. Latifi tries to keep it in, but we're just able to go a lot quicker around the outside there and get ourselves into P18. So first lap down, and we've gained 2 positions. Not really that bad if you think about it, as we now head onto the end of lap 2, unable to pass anyone yet. We scare Vettel into going a bit defensive there, so we go around his outside. Zhou runs very wide there at the final corner, so we go through the middle of him and gain 2 positions for the price of 1 there to get ourselves into P16. So 2 laps in, we've now gained 4 positions, 2 positions on each lap. Not a bad start to our race. If we can keep this up, we should be able to get ourselves a lot further up the field as we look at a 3-wide battle between Tsunoda, Gasly, and Stroll here. The Aston Martin getting forced to the outside, and he actually might get the both of the AlphaTauris here, and he does. He's able to get the better run out of turn 2. Gasly trying to fight it. Obviously, he won the race here in 2020, so he should have some good form around this track with a whole bunch of confidence. He's going to keep it to the inside of the Aston Martin, and he does get the move done there on the Canadian into P12. Stroll down to P13, Tsunoda P14, so not really for any points this battle, but yeah, these guys certainly going at it in the early stages of the Grand Prix, and you can see that battle has allowed us to get onto the back of this pack now, where we're going to try and overtake Kevin Magnussen to get into P15, and look at the run we've got out of the corner here in the slipstream, deploying some ERS. He's going to go defensive into the Ascari chicane, so we'll go to the outside. That just allows us to get a bit of slipstream off Tsunoda as well, and we quite easily get the move done there on the Haas into P15, and we'll now look to try and close in on Yuki Tsunoda and get that P14 off of him there. As we look now, going on to lap 4, is Carlos Sainz leading the way ahead of Max Verstappen, so the Tifosi will be absolutely loving that, as Sergio Perez looks to overtake Charles Leclerc into turn 1, and it's a bit of a lock-up from Sainz, and now they're going to be 3 wide between the 2 Ferraris and Max Verstappen. Who's going to get the better run? They're still all 3 wide heading out of turn 2. Normally you don't see that. Normally it ends up being at least 2 wide, but they were 3 wide all the way up until Curva Grande there, where Carlos Sainz ended up having to back out, so he's lost 2 spots there just from that little mistake he's made, and Verstappen holds his position over Leclerc to take the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. So I just said the Tifosi would be happy. They won't be happy now, and Charles Leclerc will be looking to rectify that and get himself into the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. Sainz will be absolutely filthy with himself to have thrown away the race lead like that. Meanwhile, ourselves back in P15, still trying to chase down Yuki Tsunoda for that P14, and we are getting nice and close on lap 4 here to potentially get a move done heading on to the back straight once again, just like we did with Magnussen. Can we get a nice bit of slipstream here, deploying a lot of battery at the start of this race to try and make these early positions? Tsunoda goes defensive into the Ascari chicane, so we are again going to look to the outside, and again it is a quite easy move there to get ourselves up into P14, and so now we are 6 positions up from where we started just 4 laps into the race. Not a bad start to the Grand Prix for us. Meanwhile, now on lap number 5, Lando Norris in P5 getting attacked by Lewis Hamilton, and further up the field, Leclerc has gotten ahead of Max Verstappen into the lead of the Grand Prix, and Sainz looking to follow his teammate through. Verstappen will have the inside for turn 2, not able to get the run, so Leclerc does get completely ahead there. Sainz trying to get back a Ferrari 1-2 there for the team. Meanwhile, Norris has got the move done on Perez, but Perez with the run through Curva Grande around the outside. We've seen that Red Bull powertrain is very strong in this season here, but it has been a little bit unreliable, so Perez is able to get the position back there into P4, and Norris back into P5 under attack from both Mercedes, mainly Lewis Hamilton leading the 2 of them there. As we now head on to lap number 6, we are right on the back of Lance Stroll. We'll have DRS using some battery. We also had the benefit of the slipstream out of the final corner, and it is a very, very easy move to get ourselves into P13, now chasing down Pierre Gasly, and then eventually our teammate Albon doing very well to be up in P11 at the moment. If he can just get a little bit lucky and one of those front runners has some sort of incident, then he could find himself in the points. So we now go on to lap 8. Verstappen re-attacking Charles Leclerc for the lead of the Italian Grand Prix into the first chicane. He goes to the inside. He'll have the outside for turn 2. Leclerc getting all over that inside curve, gets a poor run out of the corner, and Verstappen takes the lead there properly, and Leclerc actually under a bit of attack from his teammate. Meanwhile, Albon spins through turn 1 all on his own. Gasly having to stop to make sure he doesn't make contact. I'm just going to try and very sneakily get over that inside curb there and get ourselves into P11, gaining 2 positions from that. That's such a shame for our teammate, though, to make such just a small error like that which ends up costing him a whole bunch of positions. But yeah, we do gain a nice bunch of spots from that, get ourselves into P11. But look at this, every single car into the pit lane, it's like a car park. All of these guys double stacking with each other, holding each other up. So with every double stack, the car behind them can't go, which means that double stack is stuck, which means this double stack behind them is stuck. I've never seen this before, and the entire field is just going to be completely shaken up from this safety car caused by our teammates spinning. Look at this, we're going to exit the pit lane in P7. We've got half of the front runners ahead of us, half of the front runners behind us. It's just a completely different field to what it was a lap and a half ago when our teammates spun. And so we're going to go through an order check here. And legitimately, Esteban Ocon in the Alpine leading the way there. He just made his pit stop. He's ahead of Lando Norris, who now finds himself in second place in the McLaren. Charles Leclerc is now down in P3. So out of all the front runners, he's come out of this the best to still be in a podium position. Then it's Alonso in fourth, Verstappen down to P5. Ricciardo has actually stayed relatively where he was before all this, staying in P6, and then it's ourselves all the way up in P7 now, starting from P20 on lap 9. We're now in P7 with this safety car helping us out. So really, Albon unintentionally massively helping us in this Grand Prix. We are ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes just behind us, and the Carlos Sainz, wow, what an absolute shocker for him to go from leading the Grand Prix just a couple laps ago to now being down in P9 under safety car. He will not be happy. Ferrari will not be happy. The Tifosi will not be happy with how this Grand Prix has panned out for him so far. Sainz has had a lot of bad luck this season, and this just adds on to it. It's then Magnussen rounding out the points in P10. Perez all the way out of the points as well, so really bad luck for him as well to be now down in P11. Russell is also another driver with heaps of bad luck. So as I was saying, the field is completely shaken up from what it was a couple laps ago for Russell to be down in P14 when he was up in the battling away about the halfway through the top 10. And our teammate on for that spin, unfortunately, down in P16 when he was P11. But that was all on him. There was no bad luck there. That was just a massive mistake from Albon himself. So it'll be interesting to see if he can work his way through the field now. But here we go, end of lap 10, start of lap 11, trying to keep as close to Ricciardo as we possibly can for the safety car restart. It's a really good launch there, just about keeping it behind him as we cross the start-finish line, and we're going to be ahead by the time we're into turn 1, back onto the racing line as well, so we could not have asked for a better race start as we all bunch up heading into turn 1. A whole bunch of chaos happening behind us as everyone trying to gain from this safety car restart. Russell trying to get around Zhou Guanyu. He does get the move done into P13. Sergio Perez actually lost out to Sebastian Vettel. He now drops down to P12. Vettel up into P11 doing very well, so very clearly showing he's still got it, just he doesn't quite have the car to get him the results that he needs. That is a bit of shame there. As we look a bit further up, Magnussen still in P10, Hamilton in P9 now, Carlos Sainz up into P8, so those guys have swapped position with each other, and ourselves up into P6 as we just saw. We passed Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo possibly going to come back at us now as we head towards the Ascari chicane, but he didn't quite have the speed as we now look on lap 12. Verstappen trying to get the move done on Fernando Alonso to get himself into P4. Alonso in the Alpine, obviously not quite as quick as the Red Bull, but he will hold the inside of turn 1, try to go around the outside of turn 2, and has he got the move done? Yes, he has. Lando was also trying to attack Ocon, isn't able to get the move done. Alonso is able to hold the move on Verstappen as well. But now the Red Bull powertrain coming into effect here through Curva Grande, right round the outside for Verstappen. He'll have the inside for turn 4, and he does get the move done on the Alpine there in the end there to get himself into 4th place, and he'll now chase down Charles Leclerc for that final podium position. Meanwhile, Sainz in P8, as we just said, ahead of now Sergio Perez actually works his way up a couple of positions to get himself back into the points into P9, and Hamilton running out the points in P10. So these guys have made their way ahead of Vettel and Magnussen. Meanwhile, we're chasing down Fernando Alonso after he got caught up battling with Max Verstappen to potentially get ourselves another position. Meanwhile, Leclerc going for the move on Lando Norris around the outside of the Ascari chicane. Gets the move done there into P2, and he'll be chasing down the Alpine. But look at that, Ocon with the 1.5 second gap already as everyone battles away, and Lando's going to try and help him out by the looks of it as he re-attacks Charles Leclerc into the final corner around the outside. Who's going to get the move done here? Lando will have the better run out of the corner, but Leclerc has a much better car with that Ferrari. Max Verstappen also now trying to get himself involved here, and so we're going to see a 3-wide fight down the main straight on the lap 13 between Leclerc, Norris, and Verstappen. Verstappen has to back out of it there. He just didn't quite have the run that he wanted, and so it'll be Lando on the outside of turn 1. He'll have the inside for turn 2, but normally the outside is the better run out of the chicane here, and it is as Leclerc gets himself into second place. Lando drops back down to P3, and Verstappen all over the back of the McLaren trying to get himself into the podium position. Meanwhile, here we go, closing in on Fernando Alonso, who got a little bit caught up while those guys were battling, so he goes defensive into turn 4. We'll look to the outside, but we lock up trying to not hit Verstappen, and Alonso actually takes the opportunity to dive on the Red Bull as well, gets himself back into P4, so Verstappen back to P5, Ricciardo now gets back ahead of us into P6, and it's ourselves back to P7, so we were looking to get ourselves into 5th place. We've ended up losing and going down to 7th, and Alonso, who was defending his 5th place, now ends up in 4th place, so an entire shake-up there once again, just with that little mistake from ourselves, and now Verstappen re-attacking the Alpine into the Ascari chicane, gets it done pretty easily there, ahead of the Spaniard. He back into P4, Alonso in P5. May now actually find himself under attack from Daniel Ricciardo. Yes, he will. Alonso's going to go defensive into the final corner. I'm also trying to look if I can gain as well to the inside of the final corner. I decided to back out of it there because 3 wide just wasn't going to work. Ricciardo gets the move done into P5. Alonso back to P6. I'm now all over the back of the Alpine once again. This time, can we get the move done? We are right in the slipstream using the little bit of ERS we got left. We've got DRS, but so does everyone in this battle because we're all still pretty close to each other. We get the move done on the Alpine. We're going to flick to the outside of turn 1 to also try and get the move done on Ricciardo. We go deep into turn 1 inside of turn 2. Unfortunately means we don't get the best run, and so we drop back to P6 there. So that is one move made here, and now we're going to try and get the move done on Ricciardo through Curva Grande, just like we've seen Verstappen do a couple times, actually, around the outside. We'll have the inside for turn 4. We've got barely any battery left. I've deployed it all trying to get ahead of these guys. Inside of turn 4, outside of turn 5. We get the move done into 5th place, and wow, I need a second to catch my breath. The Temple of Speed always seeming to provide an incredible race here in the F1 games. We've now cut to lap 14, straight back into the action as Sainz finds himself under attack from Lewis Hamilton, who won't be happy with how this race has ended up going with that safety car. Both Mercedes cars were both fighting for like the P5, P6 positions. They're now fighting just to keep in the points as Hamilton gets the move done on the Ferrari around the outside of turn 2, as we've seen quite a few times already in this Grand Prix, as we are just about over the halfway mark. And now Sainz under attack from George Russell as well. So I wonder if Sainz has a bit of an issue here, because he's looking very slow to be under attack from both Mercedes there in just 2 straight. And there's a bit of front wing flying around as well. Russell not able to get the move done on Carlos Sainz. And it's Fernando Alonso who seems to have maybe made a bit of contact with Ricciardo there. He's lost his front right end plate, and I'd assume we're going to see him into the pit lane at the end of this lap to fix that, as he's going to be losing a lot of time now through the very quick corners around the Temple of Speed here, and he's immediately under attack from Sergio Perez here in the Red Bull, as Perez actually makes a mistake on his own there, right behind Fernando Alonso, and that puts him under pressure from Lewis Hamilton as we head down towards the final corner. Is Hamilton going to be able to go for a move? It looks like he might just sit in behind. Yes, he will. And he may just try and wait for the DRS opportunity there. But you can see Alonso losing a lot of time there through the final corner. So he's going to come into the pit lane here to replace that front wing. And that's pretty much his race over, unless he gets very lucky with a safety car. And here is Hamilton waiting for the DRS. Just like I said, Perez with no DRS. But again, look at that Red Bull powertrain. No DRS. And somehow Perez able to keep it alongside Hamilton. He'll have the inside for turn 2, which isn't what you want. And Hamilton does get the move done there. Back into P8, Sainz down in P9, not quite under attack from Russell anymore, so maybe it wasn't an issue. I'm not sure I say that, as we now cut a couple laps later under lap 17. Russell attacking Sainz here down towards turn 1. We have the outside of the corner, so as we've seen plenty of times, you want the inside of turn 1 so you can have the outside of turn 2, and once again, that line is the superior one as Sainz keeps P9 for now, and Russell actually has to be careful because he finds himself under attack from Kevin Magnussen, who's looking to get himself into the points-paying positions. But here we go. Same lap here, lap 17, Russell all over the back of Sainz will look to the outside of the Ascari chicane, which is a move we have seen work a couple times, and he gets the move done, but makes a mistake, just goes a bit too deep, allows Sainz back through into P9, so Russell just can't quite get it together and keep ahead of the Ferrari. Meanwhile, on the bottom right, you can see we have a change for the lead as Leclerc overtakes the Alpine of Esteban Ocon on the main straight. But now it's 3 wide between the Haas and the Mercedes and Carlos Sainz. And Russell does get the move done there into P9. Magnussen into P10, and Sainz drops right down and out of the points. But now the Haas and Mercedes battling away with each other, and Magnussen might be about to pull off the best double overtake he's ever done as he gets it done, getting ahead of a Ferrari and a Mercedes. Russell looks to the inside of turn 2 here, but the Haas should get the better run out of the second corner, and he does, and gets himself into 9th place. So great move there from the Haas as we now look up ahead to Lewis Hamilton ahead of Sergio Perez, and it is an engine failure for the Mercedes. You can see he's slowing down, and there is the smoke eventually pouring out of that Mercedes engine. Hamilton, this just is not his season. The last 2 seasons actually have been quite poor for him in that Mercedes, and I imagine tensions are building there as we've seen a lot of rivalry going on with George Russell, those guys scrapping away a lot over the course of the season as well, not really helping each other out. That does allow Sergio Perez now to keep his focus on closing in on the cars ahead as we now cut to lap 18. We've got Carlos Sainz in P11 under more attack. I thought he was about to overtake Zhou. No, he's actually under attack from Gasly and Vettel, so there has to be some sort of issue for the Ferrari there, because Sainz has been very quick this season. This is very uncharacteristic. Remember, he was leading the way as well earlier on in the race, so there must be some sort of maybe an engine issue for him to be right now down in P13, just overtaken by an Aston Martin, an AlphaTauri, and an Alfa Romeo. So there's got to be something going on there for the 55 Ferrari. Meanwhile, back at the front, though, Verstappen has now closed in on Esteban Ocon, looking to get himself into P2. Ocon goes defensive into the final corner. Verstappen will look to the outside. This should be able to get the move done for him there. I was about to say he'll have a good run. Instead, he locks up and goes very wide into the final corner. He's now right off of Esteban Ocon and is now under attack from Lando Norris, who's going to look to get himself back onto the podium here. So Norris has been very good all season. I've said it probably every episode of this season so far. Norris has been doing very, very well in that McLaren, and here he is now challenging Verstappen for the final podium position round the outside of turn 2. He will get the move done into 3rd place. Will Verstappen have anything to answer though through Curva Grande? This has been a very quick section of the track for the Red Bull so far this race, and he is all over the back of the McLaren. Lando looked to actually maybe go a little bit defensive, then decides against it, and Verstappen isn't able to get the move done here. But on lap 23...
Information on Leclerc. They've got an issue with their car. They're going to be slow.
And that message right there pretty much confirms to me that Sainz has some sort of engine issue, because it's now the other Ferrari of Charles Leclerc in the lead of the race that has an engine issue and is moving slowly. This has now allowed Esteban Ocon with 1.5 laps to go to close back in on the reigning champion at the Temple of Speed in Italy to get overtaken around the outside, and Ocon gets the move done very easily there on the Ferrari, back into the lead of the race. So the Tifosi will be absolutely losing their minds at the moment at this. 1 lap to go. Leclerc, is he able to re-attack? Sure, he's maybe a bit down on engine power, but surely with some slipstream and DRS, he might be able to get the move back done on the Alpine. Here we go, crossing line officially. 1 lap to go here for the Italian Grand Prix. Ocon leading the way for Alpine. Leclerc will re-attack into turn 1. Ocon very smartly goes defensive, because that means he'll have the inside for turn 1. And as we know, the outside for turn 2 is very, very strong. He gets the move done there, holds on to the lead, I should say, ahead of Leclerc. And Leclerc, with such a poor exit, now finds himself under attack from Max Verstappen, and Verstappen very aggressively swerving to the outside of Curva Grande. Leclerc covers him off, but Verstappen dives to the inside of turn 4, gets the move done into P2. Lando also taking the opportunity around the outside of turn 5, gets himself onto the final spot of the podium, and so just like that, in about just under a lap's worth of time, Leclerc loses first place and drops right down to P4, and Ocon is crucially over a second ahead of Max Verstappen, so there's no DRS for the Red Bull, and so just a couple corners to go now through the Ascari chicane. Unbelievably, I think Esteban Ocon might win this race. He's just got 1 straight and 1 corner to go. Verstappen in that Red Bull is closing in with that very quick Red Bull powertrain, but I don't think it's going to be enough. 1 corner to go now. He just has to get this braking zone right, and he does. He's just got to get the power down now, and he does. He's nailed it out of the final corner, across the line. Esteban Ocon wins the Italian Grand Prix for Alpine there. Unbelievable. Ahead of Verstappen, and Norris also getting himself on the podium. And it's going to also be a very, very nice P5 for ourselves here in Italy.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
They made great use of the clear air today and didn't allow anyone to exploit the slipstream behind them. What a great win here at Monza. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
I think we'll chalk this one up to a deft touch on the brake pedal. That's allowed them to challenge down the inside into the braking zones, and ultimately, if you do that often enough, you end up winning the race. It was great to watch as well though, wasn't it? Forget strategy, forget tyre management. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned scrap?
Here come today's winning drivers, and what a race this was. This is a team that knows success very well in F1, and they're just itching for even more. Congratulations to the Alpine team for their excellent win today.
So here we are with the results for an insane Italian Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon for Alpine wins the race ahead of Red Bull's Max Verstappen, who finishes in second. That'll help him out in the Drivers' Championship. Lando Norris doing very well for himself in the McLaren there to finish P3. He's had a very strong season so far. Leclerc will be so disappointed. Was leading the way with 1.5 laps to go and ends up in P4 with a very late engine issue. It's ourselves with an awesome comeback there to finish in P5 after starting dead last on the grid, getting ourselves a nice 10 points ahead of Ricciardo in P6. Perez in P7 would not be happy with that result, as well as Carlos Sainz. Hamilton, Russell also finishing right down the order. In terms of the Drivers' Championship, we move ourselves into P9 there on 23 points. Unfortunately, no points for Albon once again. Verstappen leading the way by 12 points over Leclerc and 32 points over Sainz now. And yeah, Ferrari will just be sitting there thinking about what could have been there. They could have made some real good gains in the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. They still lead the Constructors' Championship by 19 points over Red Bull, but that could have been a much bigger margin. Same with Mercedes, also losing out on a whole bunch of points this weekend, by no fault of their own either. This was no one's real fault for the complete shake-up. It's just the way things panned out with everyone coming into the pit lane at once. In terms of ourselves in the Constructors, though, we stay ahead of Alpine, and so we can be pretty happy with that, gaining some points on our main Constructors rivals for now. But that is the end of this video, guys. We are heading to Singapore for round 6 of the championship next time out. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.